Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So I was looking through my videos the other day to send someone a link to the compressor video that I did, the compressor review that I did. And when I was like going back down through my videos, I had a look at a video from about 6 to 8 months ago, and I was doing like update vids on the garage, and I thought, geez, that looks so outdated compared to what the garage is like now. So I thought I would give you guys another video that is focused on the garage and how it's been going for me. So of course I'm pretty deep into this Tirana at this point, but we're not going to be focusing too much on that Tirana, more so on the garage. So yeah, in that video I didn't even have all these sheeting and the drop sheets up there at that point. So yeah, obviously I do have the drop sheeting up there. That sort of helps. So what can actually happen when you're spraying, right? I noticed this happening is because like the particles from the paint, they'll go up and they'll be everywhere, right? It's like a cloud in here. So what they'll do, they'll grab onto any bits of, you know, something like that, the cobwebs or whatever, spider's webs. They'll grab onto that and then make it heavier. So it will actually cause things to drop from the roof. So that's why it is probably pretty important to have the ceiling covered up. And I guess, yeah, same type idea with the walls there. But to be honest, I haven't been doing much color or clear coat in here for a while because it's mainly been the primer work. So I haven't actually had to give this place a big proper clean out for a while. But look, on this project here, I'm going to get all the body work done, all the primer work done, and then I am actually going to paint these door jambs here at home, right? So I've decided that I'm going to do that so that I can get the doors back on the car and then get it all prepped up. I'm going to tell my boss, get a tow truck in, take it into work, and that way it's a case of paint it on a Saturday, drive it out on the Monday. I don't want it hanging around at work any longer than it needs. I don't want doors and parts hanging around, getting scratched and all that. But either way, yeah, that's probably getting a little bit sidetracked. We're here to focus on the garage. That's another thing that I actually recently did. So I did a big lighting upgrade. Someone actually only as of making this video, on yesterday's video, they said, oh, you know, I appreciate what you're doing there in low lighting. Well, not anymore, because at work, we've got these prep bays and half of the lights were out in the prep bays, right? So in the Christmas cleanup, I ended up actually replacing all those fluoros in the prep bays. And it turns out my boss had all these replacements. The replacements were 3 pins. The old ones were 2 pins. So I had to pull all these old ones out so I could wire in the 3-pin ones. And I just said to the boss, I said, can I have some of these old 2-pin lights? That would, I don't know, they'd have to be like minimum 15, as I say, minimum, probably 30 bucks each. And they all string together on one 240 volt plug. So that's all on one plug. So it's like low power consumption, but like pretty bright. I barely even cast a shadow. I guess I do, like when you get a bit closer you do, but generally when you're working on it, even down low, you've got good lighting now. So these are what I previously had, those 2 button lights. So I've put them up on the roof, so I've got good lighting the whole way across this garage now, which is really good. Another thing you have to be wary of when you're spraying in a garage is like everything that's not covered is going to get covered in overspray. So that's why I've got these sheets down here. Like anything that I don't want to get covered, I've sort of put up under there. Anything that I don't want to get covered in overspray, I mean. There's been a few times when I probably should have, but sometimes you're just in the zone. Like I had my doors and that hanging up here when I was priming them so I could do inside and out at the same time, and I kind of should have moved some of these spray guns because they're caked in 2-pack primer now, so I will have to give them a clean. But apart from that, look, I think it's a reasonable size garage. Like technically it's only a single garage, but for a single garage, I think it's actually not too bad of a size. So as you can see there, like I've got a decent amount, like a decent workspace in here. But look, obviously you've got to utilize it properly. You've got to be diligent with the cleaning. That's never ending. And obviously I have had to like get that right over into that corner to have that amount of space. But even when I'm doing something like a roof where you kind of want to go from side to side, right? When you get it right in the middle, there's still enough room either side, I think anyway. It can get a little bit cramped if you're not on top with the cleaning, but generally, like, it's definitely what I would say serviceable. I've put a couple of fans in recently, so you might notice that. It's actually the middle of summer at the moment, so that helps even just cool the place down and just a little bit of airflow in here, even just when you're doing your prep work. But also when you're doing your primer work, it can sort of, like what I would notice, because this is my extraction fan over here, what I would notice is like you'd get that ventilation over here, but so it would kind of cut off around this area here. The overspray just, it wouldn't move this end. I'm renting here, so if I owned this place, I'd probably put something a little bit more permanent in, like out through the roof. You'd probably do something like that and have like an inlet fan. But look, I don't want to overcapitalize on this place. I'm pretty happy with how I've got it. I'm realistic about the kind of finishes that I'm going to get. And look, in saying that, I've had some pretty damn good finishes. Like, I did this motorbike tank and that came out really clean. Like, I was actually quite surprised on how clean that one came out. I actually put another inlet fan in here too. So as you can see, that's actually filtered. So there's like a fan on the other side of that, and that's filtered on the way in. So it's not going to be blowing any dust particles in from outside. For what it's worth, it's still, as I say, we're not going to be getting clean jobs in here. Even little things like this, I just found it on Hard Rubbish. So that's curbside pickup, I think you guys call that in the States. I was just driving down the road and I saw that on the side of the road. I'm like, yep, I'm getting that. I went home and it was only literally just around the corner, so I was like dragging that down the street. So that was really cool. Really handy to have that kind of thing around here to utilize the space that you have better. You know, these kind of things I always need a clean up, I guess, but I've definitely got enough shelf space. I don't feel cramped in here. Like, yes, it's a small space that I've got to work in, but I don't feel cramped. These are another couple of little things that I put up. Look, I just put that up with some brackets. I just put a couple of brackets up there myself. Again, this one, another curbside pickup. Yeah, I just installed that one myself, and I've got like all the quartz primers and clear coats and everything that I'm going to be using on my Tirana sitting up under there. So yeah, that's all good. And this is my extraction fan here. So that's the extraction that I've got going on. That really doesn't take too long to fill up, but I guess that's a good thing. All of that dust would have been in the workshop. I'd rather it in there. I can then just turf it out. I'd rather it in there than in the shop. But what I have done here is put a second filter just to try and keep what I can out of the last filter, which I'll show you in a minute. So this one here, again, curbside pickup or Hard Rubbish pickup. That was a baby change table, believe it or not. As soon as I seen that, I'm like, yep, that's what I want. Like, at the very start, I just had this extraction fan just sitting there with just a filter sitting over the top of it, but I knew I wanted a box. So I was keeping an eye out. I didn't know, like I was thinking I could get something like that, use it as a frame, but as soon as I seen that baby change table, I gutted it out, put an end either side, obviously cut a hole in there for the extraction fan, sealed it all up properly, and there you go. And it's working fine. I think it's working pretty good. As I say, you still do have to be realistic with what you're going to get out of these kind of things. They're good, but you know, they're not going to be anywhere near a spray booth. But yeah, I actually just finished shooting a UV primer and body filler video, so hopefully you've already gone and watched that and hit the thumbs up button on that one, guys. So I thought I would give you a quick look at the compressor shed here. So inside here, you can see it's a bit dark in there, but the compressor's in there, so that keeps any of the dust out of the compressor, because obviously the compressor sucks in a lot of air, so you don't want that sucking in any of the workshop air. That's why I deliberately kept it out of the garage. But the main reason I brought you guys out here was to have a look at that. So if you have a look out here, that's where the ventilation from that extraction fan goes. It then comes into here, so I just cut a hole in there and sealed it up with a bit of expander foam, and then put it into this thing here. So it's a big canister filter. It's like a charcoal filter. You obviously can see there's been things sort of packed up on top of it, but it's not choking it or anything, and there's lots of holes there for the air to come out. But because it's a charcoal filter, it actually scrubs any of the odors from my spray fumes. Another thing I like to do is spray later, like sort of in the evening, sort of like 7 o'clock onwards, just to help with the fumes, you know, make sure no one's going to be around to even smell them, even if there is any. But I have found that to be very, very effective. You can barely smell anything when I'm spraying. But yeah, as it turns out, these are actually 4 hydroponic setups, believe it or not. I mean, I'll leave it to your imagination what people, what kind of odors people would need to scrub out of a room when they're growing things. You can probably put 2 and 2 together yourself there, but they do double as a good paint fume odor removal. I got this one from Bison Filters, and then after finding that out, it's called Filteroo. That is the biggest one that they do. After knowing exactly what it was, it turns out eBay actually has them cheaper. So I got that from Bison Filters. This is not sponsored, but you can find them cheaper elsewhere. Update with it. So this is a little garden bed that I put in myself, and man, it's pumping. It's doing real well. So this is like button squash here. Also got like these tomatoes. They're all self-sown, so that means that I didn't even put the seeds in. I didn't plant any tomatoes this year, but have a look at that. They're just going punk. They're going awesome. Not too far off having some nice red tomatoes coming up off that. Got some basil. I've had lots of cucumbers coming up off this. That's why I put this trellising up there. There's no decent sized ones on there at the moment, but believe me, I've had quite a few. These are the 2 lime trees which I put in myself. I put them in basically when I first came in. That's a Tahitian lime, so that will fruit. But this is the kaffir lime. So this one here, that we mainly actually use that for the leaves. It's got a very nice smell, and you use that in a lot of the Thai cooking that my wife does. This one here is actually something a little bit exotic. That's called a bitter melon, and I actually really like it. It would be what you would call an acquired taste, but and this is mainly my lettuce patch. As you can see here, I'm letting these go to seed. So that's lettuce when it's going to seed, and then what ends up happening, those seeds will like drop off, and they'll just continue coming up forever basically. Got some basil, beetroot, actually even got some potatoes. Again, I didn't even put them in, they just come up themselves. Rocket, again, letting that go to seed. Got some mint over there. More lettuce, radish. I've got some more little radishes coming up. I love them. They're actually really nice and easy to grow. They seem to grow, well, most through spring to autumn. I'm not sure if you'll get them to come up during winter, but that's one thing I need to look into next year, is to see what I can grow in winter, because this year, well, or previous year, I didn't really have anything going on during winter. But again, myself, and originally it was just a place for me to put the mint, because anyone that knows anything about gardening will know that mint can kind of take over a garden. I just thought, hey, I'll put my mint in here, and then I just thought, why not just put some other things in there? So for what I call like a free garden, it was like a, you know, no frills. I didn't really care like what happened. It's actually going really well. That's like a lemon balm mint, that's a Vietnamese mint, another lemon balm, and again like a tomato plant which has just come up. I didn't even put that there. Yeah, we've got some more cucumbers here, got a chili plant, coriander, and right up the very end there I've got some strawberries. So sorry to the spray painting enthusiasts that had to go get put through my garden, but yeah, it's just another thing that I'm sort of enthusiastic about, I guess. And there's something quite special about like coming home from work and then sitting down, and like I love eating my salmon or whatever, but something special about coming home, watering the garden, and just picking like a massive bowl full of vegetables out of your garden and then eating it for dinner. There's something awesome about it. And I guess even if there's just a couple of yous out there who will watch my videos and be, you know, encouraged to go and grow your own fruit or vegetables. And I guess also there's just something about sharing something that you're passionate about. I've found a few people in the comments who actually quite enjoy my little gardening section. So yeah, thanks for watching again, guys. I actually found this in the garden and I liked it, so I kept it. I was doing some gardening out the side here and I liked it so much, so I did decide to keep it. One more thing before we do call that a video. I've been meaning to show you guys this Benz which I bought for my wife to learn how to drive in. I've been meaning to show you guys this for a while. So I have personally wanted a Benz for years. I used to have a 1969 Benz, and Unfortunately, it was like a diesel and it spat a timing chain. And back then I just didn't have the money to fix it. The mechanics told me it's going to be anywhere from like $2,000 to $5,000. They said like minimum $2,000 even just to diagnose it, because they had to like pull most of the engine apart, because it had basically seized up with a timing chain, snap timing chain. So that was a 1969 220D. Absolutely love that car. And after looking, I realized, geez, like Benzes, like they'll go from like $100,000. Well, this one here was actually a $70,000 car when it was new, which adjusted for inflation, it's like $110,000. And we picked it up for $8,000. So yeah, like a steal if you ask me. It's got 125,000 Ks on it. The thing is immaculate. I actually recently gone and bought myself a paint thickness gauge, micrometer, and there's only been one panel painted on it. I did actually pick it, like not when I was buying it, because I guess when you're buying a car, there's lots of things that you're trying to take in, and I didn't actually have the paint thickness gauge. I don't really care that one or two panels is painted. It's more like a overall condition of the vehicle when you're buying it. But this thing has been garaged basically its whole life. It was owned by an old Italian guy who came out here probably in the 50s or something, relatively poor, grew up poor, and really always wanted a Benz, really appreciated it. In his later years, he did end up getting it. And apparently, like, he sort of passed away, and it was just sitting there. They kept it for a couple of years, and it was just sitting there, and the rego was coming up, and they just couldn't justify paying the rego for another year. Anyway, it left me with an absolute bargain. We did get those windows tinted because, yeah, I mean, it does get pretty hot here in Australia, as no doubt you guys know. But yeah, it's a 2001 C200 compressor, and that is the only panel that's been painted on the car. And you could barely even notice it. Like, there's barely any, if any, color difference. There might be like 1 or 2%, but who really cares? I do actually need to run around and give it a bit of a touch-up. You can see a couple of little touch-ups here, but all in all, it is in amazing condition, especially considering its age. So there you go, C200s, that means it's a 2-litre petrol compressor. That means it's got a supercharger on it. And just the condition of the car, guys, it's amazing. As you would expect, it's got all the service history in there. One of the first things I actually did was to install a aftermarket head unit. So it had like the crappy little factory radio there and no reverse camera in it. So because my wife's learning how to drive, I'd say it's pretty important to have, that's a safety thing, you know, like a reversing camera I would say is a safety thing these days. But as you can see, like, it's a good quality one. I've got like a Pioneer camera and a Sony head unit for it. So as you can see there, like good quality reverse, and it was really cool. Like it's all basically plug and play. It does this strange thing. You can hear that sound. I don't know if anyone knows how to get rid of that sound, just tell me. But it's coming through the stereo, and I was actually expecting it to be fixed when I installed this, but it still does it for some strange reason. But yeah, guys, it's obviously an automatic. It is just a pure pleasure to drive, guys. It's 127,000 nearly now we're up to. So we've put a good 2,000 Ks on it in only a couple of months. But just have a look at the quality of the interior, guys. Like, it's incredible. Like, it's nearly a no-brainer to buy a car like this. Like, if you look at the used Japanese car market, like, you're gonna get yourself a beaten up old, like, 2010 Honda Jazz with 200,000 Ks on it for 8,000 bucks, you know what I mean? So it's nearly like a no-brainer. But I think like a lot of people, like, they're scared off, oh, it's a Mercedes, oh, they're expensive. And I even had someone like leave a comment on my Instagram page. I just took a quick photo and they said, dude, like, parts for these are cheaper than Fords and Holdens. So yeah, look, I don't know, I could end up, well, the way I see it is, like, I can only lose what I've invested, you know what I mean? Like, it cost me $8,000. Absolute worst case scenario, I lose the $8,000, but that's not going to happen anyway. Like, you can get a full wreck, or like, you can get these cars which are just regos, like, you can get them really cheap. Like, you can get like $2,500, you get basically a whole shell with pretty much everything on it. It might have what you need if something goes wrong, but either way, awesome car, really nice car to drive. And now that I've put that head unit in it, it actually feels, it's nicer to drive, and it feels more modern than my 2014 Corolla, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. Another thing is, yeah, like this is my wife, you know, like I want her in a safe car. And, you know, what would you rather her in? That 2010 Honda Jazz or a 2001 Benz? Well, I would imagine that this thing's going to stack up a little bit better than the Honda Jazz. So, yeah, there's many reasons to get a beautiful Benz like this, and I reckon it's an awesome purchase, guys. Anyway, as always, be sure to leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the Benz, the garden, and the garage. And until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out. Anyway, I'm actually going to get back into the weights, mate. Gonna get shredded again. Yeah. Gunman out. I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel further, you're more than welcome to go over and check out some of the merchandise we've got. My personal favourite is those spray suits, so they're a good quality Colad branded spray suit with the Gunman logo on it. There's also hats, drink coolers, hoodies and t-shirts, so be sure to go over and check out the link in the description if you are interested.